This object is a very, very special and rare type of mirror. It's made of bronze. It's actually a metal mirror that, when highly polished, would work wonderfully as a mirror, but there's a secret hidden within the layers. So this bronze mirror is sometimes referred to as a magic mirror, and it actually has the ability to project in its reflection in the light an image that is wholly invisible to the naked eye. These types of mirrors are very, very rare. They are so rare, we don't even know how many there are all over the world. People are now studying these, cataloging these, and last year someone counted maybe 24 around the entire globe of this type of two-faced bronze mirrors that has that magic image inside. And in the United States, ours at the Putnam is now one of 3 that we know of in this country. And it's here in Davenport, Iowa. This mirror came to the Putnam Museum in 1914, and it was part of a very large donation of East Asian artifacts from Charles Fickey, or C.A. Fickey. And he was a local man. He was a Davenport man. He actually served as Davenport mayor for a time. He was an attorney in Davenport, and he was a world traveler. And Charles Fickey understood that he had an immense privilege in the ability to travel the world. And he also knew that a lot of people from his hometown of Davenport, Iowa, didn't have that ability. A lot of them would not be able to travel very far from the place they were born. And so he wanted to give back to his community by sending back these items he purchased overseas so he could bring the world to Davenport and the Quad City region. There are a few different theories about exactly how the mirrors work, and it also can depend on the type of mirror. But for our mirror here at the Putnam Museum, basically it's made of 2 bronze plates that are soldered together. And so when you look at the mirror, on one side you see the script that's calling out the name of Amitabha Buddha. And on the other side, you see a polished surface. That's the mirror. That's the working mirror of the actual bronze magic mirror. Now, if you could split apart the 2 plates of bronze that make up this mirror, basically script, polished side, split them apart, you would see on the opposite side of the polished surface, there's a raised image of Buddha. There's a line drawing of Buddha that's in raised bronze. It was probably cast that way. And before they sandwich the 2 bronze pieces together, they actually polish the mirror surface, and the act of polishing that mirror surface with the Buddha on the other side, the raised image of Buddha on the other side, the pressure of the polishing changes very, very minutely, invisibly, how the surface of the mirror is going to reflect light, because it's basically creating depressions that we can't see with our eyes around where the lines of Buddha is, and then where the lines are, it's maintaining its shape. So there's just a little bit of a variation in the surface that's affecting how light bounces off of the mirror. When Charles Fickey donated this mirror in 1914, he had it written in his ledger that it was a magic mirror. But that record didn't really make it past his ledger. The interesting thing is, when he came back from a tour of China and Japan that he took in 1904 to 1905, he sent a lot of items back in these crates. And they came through customs, made them back to Davenport, and at some point Fickey wrote a list of everything that he had acquired, and he had his own personal museum and art gallery set up in his home here in Davenport. And on this list he says magic mirror, very old, Japan, 1904. So when did that information get lost? because once you get to the card catalog at the Putnam Museum, years have passed, and the card catalog for that exact same mirror from Ficky's ledger just says bronze mirror Japanese. And so 100 years goes by, and this mirror is sitting in our collection at the Putnam Museum, and we don't realize what it is. It never occurred to us throughout these decades to shine light on it and reflect it on a white surface and have all these perfect little the conditions for reflecting the image of Buddha. It wasn't until the discovery of the Cincinnati Art Museum magic mirror in 2021 that we thought to check our mirrors. Reading that article about Dr. Homeisung's discovery in the Cincinnati Art Museum of their Japanese magic mirror kind of triggered us to start thinking about our own collection. It was probably like 4:30 on a Friday, and we had read this article thinking like, oh, that sounds really nice. Great, that's wonderful for Dr. Sung in the Cincinnati Art Museum. And then we just started thinking about Ficky and his travels to China and Japan and the things he might have brought back. So after a quick search in the database, we identified that we did have a few bronze mirrors in our collection that might be in the right time and place. And then coming back here to collections and looking through the shelves, you get really excited in the moment. You think like, could it be? Could it be? But the first few mirrors, we do actually have several bronze mirrors from China and Japan that were brought back to us by Ficky and by, I think, one other donor. And no luck. Going back into the office and looking at the article again and looking at photos of the Cincinnati Art Museum magic mirror, I noticed the red cord, the red silk cord that theirs had. And I realized, looking at the shelf of our mirrors, that there was one at the back that had a red cord. And so I came back into collections. I had my cell phone with the flashlight, and I pulled out the mirror, and I realized that it looked remarkably similar to the one from Cincinnati. And I started, okay, stay calm, Nora, it's probably not. And then turning off all the lights in collections, I started trying to bounce the light off of the mirror. And I was trying different surfaces. At first I was thinking a dark surface would show it the best. These mirrors are not designed to be reflected onto dark surfaces. Once again, they would have been reflected probably onto rice paper. So it wasn't until I started reflecting it onto lighter surfaces that I started to see something. And first, I couldn't see much. The cell phone light wasn't really giving the right focus, but I could see just enough to see the notches of the rays around the edges. And it took some trial and error to find the right lighting conditions, the right focus, the right temperature of light, and the right surface. And that was the moment where I realized, like, we actually really had something here. We had a magic mirror. With the help of Heather Dunn, who is trustee on our board of the Putnam Museum, we were able to connect with Jordan Voigt and Brandy Erickson at Genesis Health System. And they were kind enough to offer the services of a CT scan so we could peer inside our bronze mirror. And they were so wonderful to work with. They were excited to help about a project that was not only unique to us at the Putnam Museum, but as they said, it's not something they see every day either. They're not often asked to scan a historic bronze artifact. We connected Genesis with the conservator who worked on the Cincinnati Art Museum mirror, Kelly Rechtenwald. And she was able to work with them to figure out the specifics of putting a bronze artifact into a CT scan, how that would work, so they could figure out the more technical side of that. And then once we had it, once they had it figured out how it was going to work, how to scan the bronze with the CT scan machine, we took the bronze mirror to Genesis, took it on a trip to the hospital. And we worked with the technicians there, laid it out on the bed of the CT scan, and went into the booth, the office behind the machine, and we watched the images come in. It was a very exciting day. Like I said, we were pretty sure we had a magic mirror in our hands, but the CT scan was what was going to give us irrefutable evidence. This was really authenticating it for us. This was confirming, without a doubt, that this was a magic mirror. And beyond that, it was going to allow us to see with much more clarity what the design of the Buddha looked like in there. With the light situation, trying to bounce light off of the surface of the mirror, you get a lot of variation as you move the light around, and it can be hard, kind of squinting to see the details. So thanks to Genesis and the CT scan, we can now see inside this mirror and see the details of the work that the creator did.